In a quiet corner of Missouri, where white picket fences and neatly trimmed lawns paint the illusion of an idyllic existence, lies a haunting tale that shatters the facade of normalcy. In the case we're about to explore, a young woman found herself entangled in a web of deception and manipulation, all orchestrated by someone she should have been able to trust unconditionally, her own mother. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a seemingly fragile soul, spent the early years of her life bound by the belief that she suffered from a myriad of severe health conditions. Her mother, Dee Blanchard, went to great lengths to maintain this illusion, even at the expense of her daughter's freedom and well-being. Behind closed doors, Gypsy Rose's existence was tightly controlled, her every move monitored, her every word scripted. But as the saying goes, the truth has a way of revealing itself, and the cracks in Dee's elaborate facade would soon become impossible to ignore. Gypsy Rose's desire for a life beyond the confines of her illnesses led her down a path that no one could have anticipated. The events that unfolded would shock the world and challenge our understanding of trust, manipulation, and the power of a mother's influence. Hi guys, and welcome back to Crimeco, where we break down some of the most gruesome true crime cases from all over the world, giving you the most up-to-date detailed information. If that sounds like something you are interested in, be sure to subscribe and don't forget to give this video a like. A like from you really helps the channel. Thank you. Now let's dive in. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's childhood was a labyrinth of manipulation and false pretenses. Born to Claudine D. Blanchard on July 27, 1991, in Chackbay, Louisiana, her life took a tumultuous turn at a tender age. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's father is Rod Blanchard. He was 17 years old when he married Dee Blanchard, who was 24 years old at the time. They had Gypsy Rose when Rod was 18 years old. However, Rod soon realized that he wasn't happy in the marriage and left Dee when Gypsy was just a baby. Even though Rod left Dee, he remained in contact with Gypsy throughout her childhood. He would visit her regularly and send her letters and gifts. However, Dee kept their relationship very limited. She told Gypsy that Rod didn't want to be around her because she was sick. According to her mother, Dee, Gypsy Rose suffered from a range of chronic illnesses, including leukemia, asthma, and muscular dystrophy. Dee claimed her daughter had the mental capacity of a 7-year-old due to brain damage from premature birth. But the truth behind these alleged ailments would soon come to light. Gypsy Rose's educational journey was far from ordinary. She attended school up until the 2nd grade, possibly even earlier. After that, her mother chose to homeschool her, citing the severity of her illnesses as the reason. However, it was later discovered that this was merely a guise to maintain control over Gypsy Rose's life. The community embraced Gypsy Rose, believing her to be a brave and inspiring young girl. She was honored as the honorary queen of the crew of Mid-City during Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Also, Gypsy Rose's alleged conditions garnered attention and support from charitable organizations, such as Children's Mercy Hospital, Habitat for Humanity, Ronald McDonald House, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation. But what lay beneath the surface was a tragic reality of deceit and abuse. Dee Blanchard employed both physical and psychological control over her daughter. Gypsy Rose's hand was constantly held in public, and any indication that she wasn't genuinely sick or surpassed her supposed mental capabilities was met with punishment. The world outside their confined existence remained elusive to Gypsy Rose. Medical interventions played a significant role in Gypsy Rose's life. Her mother subjected her to unnecessary surgeries, medication, and treatments. Saliva gland treatments, teeth extractions, and ear tube implantations were just a fraction of the extensive medical procedures she endured. Isolated from the outside world, Gypsy Rose found solace in the pages of books, particularly the Harry Potter series. Through these tales of magic and adventure, she sought an escape from the suffocating reality her mother had constructed. On June 14, 2015, tragedy struck when authorities discovered the lifeless body of Dee Blanchard in her home in Greene County, Missouri. She lay face down, the room soaked in blood, a victim of multiple stab wounds inflicted several days earlier. But what led to this gruesome act? Concerned neighbors grew alarmed after reading troubling Facebook posts, fearing foul play and the possible abduction of Gypsy Rose. When law enforcement arrived at the Blanchard residence, they found Gypsy Rose missing. Her wheelchair and medications remained untouched, painting a puzzling picture of the events that had unfolded. The following day, police located Gypsy Rose in Wisconsin. She had traveled there with her boyfriend, Nicholas Gojon, whom she had met online. The revelation that Gypsy Rose was actually an adult and did not possess the physical and mental conditions her mother claimed ignited a wave of shock and sympathy. As investigators delved deeper into Gypsy Rose's medical history, they made a startling discovery. Several doctors who had examined her found no evidence to support the alleged disorders. Suspicion grew, and one physician suspected a condition known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy, where a caretaker fabricates or induces illness in someone under their care. Dee Blanchard had even changed her name after her family confronted her about her treatment of Gypsy Rose and suspected her involvement in the poisoning of her stepmother. But despite the mounting evidence against her, many people had accepted her story as true, and numerous charities had extended their support. The true extent of the deception became apparent as Gypsy Rose's story unfolded. She had been forced to pretend to be younger, disabled, and chronically ill. Unnecessary surgeries, medications, and physical abuse became the norm as Dee exercised control over every aspect of her daughter's life. The 23-year-old Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her boyfriend, 26-year-old Nicholas Gojon, found themselves at the center of a web of secrets and hidden desires. Together, they embarked on a journey that would ultimately lead to the unthinkable act of violence against Gypsy Rose's own mother. Behind closed doors, Gypsy Rose and Nicholas plotted the demise of Dee Blanchard. Their motive? Escape from a life of manipulation and abuse, freedom from the shackles of Dee's iron grip. But how did their plan unfold? The couple meticulously planned their every move, leaving no room for error. They meticulously researched methods, carefully weighing the risks and consequences. Their determination to break free from the confines of Dee's control fueled their determination. The fateful night arrived when Gypsy Rose and Nicholas executed their plan. Gojon patiently waited as Gypsy and her mother, Dee, returned home from a doctor's appointment. Unbeknownst to Dee, danger lurked within the walls of their seemingly ordinary house. Gypsy, desperate to escape the clutches of her mother's control, took a daring step. She let Gojon into their home and allegedly handed him the tools they had prepared for the heinous act. Duct tape, gloves, and a knife became instruments of their liberation. Trembling with fear, Gypsy retreated to the bathroom, seeking refuge from the impending nightmare. She covered her ears, desperately trying to shield herself from the piercing screams she knew would soon fill the air. With Dee fast asleep, Gojon moved silently, driven by a twisted sense of justice. He ruthlessly stabbed Dee 17 times in her back, extinguishing the very source of Gypsy's suffering. The aftermath of the brutal act marked the beginning of their escape. Gypsy and Gojon seized the moment, taking $4,000 in cash that Dee had hoarded from her ex-husband, Rod, child support checks. Seeking refuge from the haunting crime scene, they sought solace in a motel just outside Springfield. In the depths of secrecy, they meticulously strategized their next steps, driven by a dangerous alliance formed in the crucible of their shared pain. Their faces caught on surveillance cameras at local stores, Gypsy and Katerina carefully disguised themselves, concealing their true identities from prying eyes. Gypsy donned a blonde wig, allowing her to blend into a world free from the shackles of her mother's deception. To avoid being caught with the damning evidence, they made a calculated move. The murder weapon, still tainted with the echoes of their heinous act, was discreetly sent back to Katerina's home in Wisconsin through the mail. With hearts pounding, Gypsy and Katerina boarded a bus, leaving behind the scene of their dark transformation. Witnesses who crossed their path noted Gypsy's newfound freedom as she walked unassisted, shedding the facade of disability she had worn for so long. In the moments that followed, a dangerous illusion consumed Gypsy's mind. She believed, even for a fleeting moment, that they had successfully eluded the clutches of the law, that their crime would remain concealed in the shadows. In the wake of Dee murder, law enforcement launched a comprehensive investigation into the crime. As detectives combed through the evidence, they began unraveling the layers of deception that had engulfed Gypsy Rose and her mother's twisted relationship. Meanwhile, Gypsy Rose and Nicholas found themselves on the run, seeking refuge and evading capture. With each passing day, their desperation grew, knowing that the truth would eventually catch up with them. As news of the murder broke, the community was in shock. The once beloved mother-daughter duo became subjects of scrutiny and speculation. People struggled to understand how such a heinous act could have occurred within their midst. As the investigation unfolded, the truth about Gypsy Rose's age and health emerged. Medical professionals confirmed that she was not the chronically ill child her mother had portrayed her to be. The realization sent shockwaves through the community, challenging their perception of the entire case. With each passing revelation, the extent of Gypsy Rose's confinement and abuse became clear. She had been subjected to unnecessary surgeries, medication, and psychological manipulation. Her life had been a facade carefully constructed by Dee. The legal proceedings against Gypsy Rose and Nicholas began, exposing the complex dynamics of their relationship and the culpability of each party. The courtroom became a stage for the tangled web of manipulation, deceit, and the consequences they faced. As Gypsy Rose and Nicholas faced the consequences of their actions, the courtroom became a battleground of conflicting narratives. The defense argued that Gypsy Rose had been a victim of her mother's abuse and manipulation, while the prosecution painted a picture of premeditated murder. Gypsy Rose, now stripped of her carefully crafted persona, sat before the judge and jury, her fate hanging in the balance. The world watched with bated breath as her true story unfolded within the courtroom's walls. Witness testimonies shed light on the depth of Dee's deception and Gypsy Rose's lifelong confinement. Friends, family members, and medical professionals took the stand, sharing their perspectives on the complex web of lies that had entrapped Gypsy Rose for so long. The prosecution meticulously built their case, presenting evidence of Gypsy Rose and Nicholas' plans to murder Dee. They argued that Gypsy Rose, despite her history of abuse, had played an active role in orchestrating her mother's death. Meanwhile, the defense team painted a different picture. They emphasized Gypsy Rose's history of abuse, highlighting how she had been forced into a life of submission and manipulation. They sought to establish a narrative of self-defense and liberation. After weeks of riveting courtroom drama, the time came for the judge and jury to render their verdict. The fate of Gypsy Rose and Nicholas hung in the balance, and the world awaited the decision that would shape their future. As the verdict was read on July 5, 2016, the courtroom erupted in a mix of emotions. Gypsy Rose and Nicholas anxiously awaited their destinies, their lives forever altered by the events that unfolded. With the trial behind them, a new chapter began for both the convicted. Gypsy Rose Blanchard pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Gypsy Rose, now confined within prison walls, faced the reality of her actions. Stripped of the life she once knew, she embarked on a journey of self-reflection and personal growth. Behind bars, she had time to confront the complexities of her past and envision a future beyond the shadows of Dee Dee's manipulation. Meanwhile, Nicholas Gojon, the man who had played a pivotal role in Dee Dee's murder, also grappled with the consequences of his choices. He was found guilty of first-degree murder in November 2018 and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The aftermath of the trial rippled through the lives of those connected to the case. Gypsy Rose's family members, who had grappled with the truth of Dee Dee's deception, faced the challenge of rebuilding shattered relationships. Their lives would never be the same, forever marked by the shocking revelation of the lengths to which Dee Dee had gone to control and manipulate. The case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard captured the attention of the public and media alike. People around the world questioned the system that had failed to protect Gypsy Rose from years of abuse and deception. Advocacy for victims of Munchausen syndrome by proxy gained momentum as society sought to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. Throughout it all, Gypsy Rose embarked on a profound personal transformation. From a young woman trapped in a web of lies to a symbol of resilience and survival, she emerged as a voice for those who had suffered in silence. Her journey of self-discovery and empowerment captivated the hearts and minds of many. Gypsy Rose dedicated herself to education and personal development. She sought solace in books, expanding her knowledge and exploring new horizons. Through rigorous study and intellectual pursuits, she aimed to reshape her future and break free from the shackles of her past. Gypsy Rose also found solace in connecting with others who had experienced similar traumas. Joining support groups and engaging with individuals who understood her journey provided a sense of validation and camaraderie. Through these connections, she discovered that she was not alone and that her story had the power to inspire others. Gypsy Rose emerged as a fierce advocate for victims of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. From behind bars, she lent her voice to raise awareness about the signs of this form of abuse and the importance of listening to the voices of those who may be suffering silently. Gypsy Rose's own experience became a catalyst for change, inspiring others to speak out against manipulation and control. Nicholas Gojon, too, sought redemption through his commitment to personal growth and rehabilitation. Reflecting on the devastating consequences of his actions, he became an advocate for understanding the psychological factors that can lead individuals down destructive paths. Through his own journey, he aimed to prevent others from falling into the same traps of manipulation and violence. The case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard had a profound impact on the medical community. Doctors and healthcare professionals began to question their diagnostic practices and prioritize listening to patients and their caregivers. The shocking revelations of Dee Dee's deception prompted a renewed commitment to protect vulnerable individuals from medical abuse. The legal system also responded to the case with a focus on improving child protection and reforming laws related to Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Stricter guidelines were implemented to ensure thorough investigations and evaluations in cases involving suspected medical abuse. The story of Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee became a cautionary tale, highlighting the need for early intervention and effective legal measures. Support networks and organizations dedicated to victims of Munchausen syndrome by proxy flourished in the wake of Gypsy Rose's case. These groups provided resources, counseling, and a safe space for survivors to heal and rebuild their lives. Families impacted by this form of abuse found solace in sharing their experiences and supporting one another through their journeys of recovery. The media's extensive coverage of the case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard brought public attention to the hidden world of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Through gripping documentaries, news reports, and investigative journalism, The story raised awareness about the warning signs and the devastating consequences of this unique form of abuse. As we come to the conclusion of our case, we reflect on the enduring legacy of the case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Through personal growth, advocacy, and systemic changes, Gypsy Rose and Nicholas sought redemption and contributed to a greater understanding of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Their story serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of circumstances, resilience and hope can prevail. Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey through the case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. As we bid farewell to this compelling true crime saga, may it serve as a reminder of the importance of empathy, vigilance, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. Remember, it is through our collective efforts that we can create a safer and more compassionate world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest true crime cases. We appreciate having you as part of our community as we explore the mysteries that continue to fascinate us all. Stay curious and remember, justice may stay hidden in the darkest corner. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.